Slow down, brother. What did you say? You trapped the devil in the basement? Welcome back to Real Lounge Entertainment. As always, I am Mike, and welcome to day 3 of 12 Days of Christmas Horrors. Now, when I made the list of all 12 Christmas horror movies I was going to watch this year, I haven't seen any of them. There was only one that I was super excited to watch. This is the one I'm so anticipated out of all 12 movies that I wanted to watch, and it's called I Trapped the Devil. Now, can it live up to those hopes? Let's find out. Now, before we get started, make sure to give us a like, subscribe if you haven't, and let us know in the comments, what's your favorite movie about the devil? Day 3's Christmas horror movie is I Trapped the Devil from 2019. Now, this movie has a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty darn good for these movies. A runtime of 1 hour, 22 minutes. It's not rated, but it would definitely be rated R. And I couldn't find a budget, and this was like a direct-to-streaming or DVD type of release, so there's no box office numbers to mention. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, nothing scared me more than movies and stories revolving around the devil. Even Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey used to give me nightmares because of the scene where the devil pulling it in. So since then, I've always had an attachment to movies and stories involving the devil and selling your soul and that type of stuff. It's always just intrigued me. It's very interesting. You can get a lot of good stories out of that. So when I heard the plot of this one about some guy who thinks he's trapped the devil in his basement on Christmas or Christmas Eve, I was hooked from the get-go. This movie follows a character named Matt and his wife Karen, and they surprise his brother Steve by visiting his house on Christmas Eve or Christmas. I'm not really sure. I don't really know if they make it clear. Either way, Steve is kind of like a shut-in and kind of a little crazy or whatever, and very quiet and doesn't want them here and basically just tells them to leave, but they stick around anyways. Steve barely talks at all. They have an awkward dinner of quietness. Matt and Karen ask questions, get no answers, basically talk to themselves. Someone keeps calling Steve on the phone, so that's annoying. There's nothing more annoying from my past when I was a kid, and the house phone just constantly ringing and ringing. It would make me insane. Well, that's what happens in this movie, as someone is constantly calling Steve on the phone, and we never really know who.
Excuse me.
Please, get me out of this. I can't take that phone ringing anymore. At the same time, we keep seeing Steve just staring at an old TV and the static. And sometimes we see some images of like a woman or something like that. I don't know. It's not very clear. There's certain things in the story that are just set up but not really follow through in a good way that makes us really understand what's going on. But, it's okay. Long story short, Steve goes and takes Matt into a room and talks to him. And then we find out what that conversation was about later when Matt gets a drink, because he definitely needs alcohol at this point, goes and tells Karen what his brother Steve has told him. And he's basically like, something's wrong with Steve. There's a man in the basement. Pretty good line. Kind of sets up the creepiness of this movie.
Something's wrong with Steve. There's a man in the basement.
So as it turns out, Steve believes he's caught the devil and has him trapped in a box in the basement.
Put the gun down.
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Not only is this person trapped in a box in the basement and you can hear him calling for help, but for some reason Steve has like this creepy red lighting on this box in the basement, setting up the whole thing to be creepy. Just look at that box. Steve also believes that all those calls mean someone is coming to let loose the devil. We also have this moment where Steve takes Matt into this room, and there's all these like newspaper clippings and all these yarns, connecting to this, and he's talking about how all the evil is connected in the world or something like that. And it's something like there's man's evil versus programmed evil. I'm not really sure I understand the concept. I understand it a little bit, but I don't know. They didn't delve too deep into this. If they got a little bit more into that, then I think it would have been much better for this picture. So then we get the classic stuff from these type of movies. The trust game. Do we trust Steve? Do we trust Matt? Karen? Are they here to release the person? Is this person the devil, or is it really just a man? All sorts of different angles from all 3 different perspectives. And it could have created like a much better atmosphere, but it never really builds up to the atmosphere this story deserves. And before we say anything else, I gotta say, for a man like Steve, who's completely crazy in this movie, whether he's telling the truth or not, he keeps his house very, very clean and even had the time to decorate for Christmas with Christmas lights, Christmas tree, everything. So Props to you, Steve. So the tension builds up between all four characters and what's going to happen in this movie, and that's probably as far as I'm going to tell you because I won't spoil this movie for you. So, did I like it? It's okay. This was a low budget movie. I couldn't find the budget, but you can tell that it's very low budget, and it was only shot in 8 days, which is crazy. So, major props for them for being able to complete shooting a movie in 8 days, and I give it a little bit of leeway for that. So, with me giving them respect for shooting in 8 days, I gotta say, it was shot okay. The lighting's pretty good. The camera work is pretty good. The stuff in the basement I really liked, and probably like the last 4 minutes of the movie I really liked, but you'd have to watch it to see what it is. You probably know what I'm talking about when you watch it. The problem for me with this movie is the story isn't big enough the way they frame it. It feels very stretched out. Like this is an hour and a half basically, but it feels like this story, maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes at the longest. I feel like in the first 2/3, you're missing some beats to keep stuff moving forward. It's kind of just repetitive and kind of boring. It takes you out. The last third, everything pipes up faster, but I don't think we've deserved to get there yet. So just some stuff missing out. So for a script like this, where you're dealing with like people and their thoughts, and like this person, that person, all that type of stuff, the acting really needs to be great because the actors really need to carry the story. And for me, the acting wasn't horrible, and I give anybody props for these low-budget movies. It's hard work, but for a story like this, I think the acting needed to be a little bit better and maybe a little bit bigger of a budget for a story like this because you really have to delve into the writing and the characters' thoughts and really portray them on film with like facial expressions and stuff like that. So the story is intriguing enough, and somewhere down the line, I'll probably watch this movie again to give another shot. As of right now, I can give this movie about maybe 2 candy canes out of 5, which makes it the highest one out of the ones we've watched so far. Hopefully they start getting better because, even the next one I already watched, they're pretty weak, but we'll get to that one on the next day. I can definitely say it's definitely worth a watch, just knowing these people worked really hard to try to make a movie and shot it in only 8 days. So support them even if I only gave it 2 out of 5. So that does it for day 3 of 12 Days of Christmas Horrors. Make sure to join us next day on day 4, where we'll finally conclude the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. Thanks for watching.